Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So I'm going to be showing you in this video the grades that I got back from my first ever submission to PSA through GameStop for a small little stack of Pokemon cards, but I wanted to record this before I went down to GameStop to submit these, just to show you what I'm submitting and kind of talk about what I think the grades might be. And then at the end we'll edit it in and I'll show you guys the grades in the second half of this video. So it's a small little stack of cards, 10 cards here, a little bit of a variety of either cards that I've opened myself from vintage packs, or cards that maybe I picked up recently or got in a video that I've opened here on the channel. So first up, some of you probably remember this. I pulled this recently in a video where I bought a lot of cards on eBay and didn't really know what was going to be in there, and apparently the seller didn't know what they had either, because there were some shadowless holos in there. So I am submitting my shadowless Venusaur from that video. We'll see how it does. Upon closer examination, unfortunately this was put into a top loader without a penny sleeve, all the cards. So it does definitely have some like very light hollow scratches, and there's some silvering along the edges. My guess on this would probably be a PSA 6. I'd be very happy with a PSA 7. There's no way that this would get a PSA 8 in my opinion, but it's most likely going to be a 5 or a 6. I'd be happy with it either way just to preserve it. And then next up is a card that I picked up from one of my other more recent videos from my local card store, and that is a holo non-first edition Light Arcanine, which is absolutely a beautiful card. I wish that my local card store didn't put these pieces of these stickers on the top loader so I could take it out and look at it, because I probably wouldn't have bought this for grading purposes at the time, though it's still in really nice shape. But there were a couple little very light hollow scratches on this that I could not see in the top loader. But overall, I mean, it's pretty solid. I know I'm not showing you like super close-ups or anything, but there's really no crazy whitening or white dots or anything on the back. So the back is pretty good. The front, I'm going to assume that this gets an 8. A 7 or an 8 would be my guess. A 9, I'd be over the moon, but I don't think it's going to get a 9. So 7 or 8 would be my guess on Light Arcanine. And then the remainder of the cards here are actually all first edition jungle cards that I pulled myself from packs that I've opened on the channel not too long ago. I opened 2 first edition packs, and I just picked out some. I didn't want to send all of them. First of all, it's pretty expensive for me right now to send all of them at once, and I don't want to send everything I have all at the same time, just in case I get a grader that isn't really having a great day. I'd rather send like half of what I had, or a third of what I pulled now, and then the rest later. So I'm doing a first edition Jigglypuff, a first edition Tauros, which all of these, there was a Rhyhorn that I almost submitted, but unfortunately or a Rhydon that I almost submitted, but it had a little dent in the corner, and I just didn't want to send it, even though everything else was mint. I'm really trying to send ones that are going to try and get a 10, so Tauros. We got the Furo, and these first edition jungle cards, if you can pull a 10 on them, like Furo recently, I think I saw went for a few $100s, like $300, $350, crazy. So the PSA 10 prices on some of these are really, really nice. And Cubone, a lot of these I will keep for my personal collection though, but I'll see. Maybe I sell one to pay for the submission. I might sell the 9s, depending on how I'm feeling. I'm more of a 10 person when it comes to jungle first edition. This is a non-holo Pidgeot. And yeah, the backs of these look really good. There's no whitening for like very small little minor things, like maybe one little teeny white dot there that can still definitely pull off a 10. I got the Rhydon. And then hopefully a sequential if they grade these the right way. Meowth and Persian. And just to show you like the backs of these, this is pretty much how all of them are fresh from the pack. They are pretty clean. And I am very aware that even fresh from a pack, you can still get a PSA 8 or a PSA 9, so believe me, I am not expecting 10s on all of these. I'd be happy with 1 or 2 10s, to be honest with you, on those jungle cards. So I'm not like delusional. I understand that the gem rate at PSA is usually like 30% on average, and listen, I understand how they grade. I'm not going into this completely unaware, so I'm going to bring these down to GameStop, and we're just going to do an edit here, and you guys are going to see the grade results. Let's see how I did. Real quick, before we get to the grade reveal, I just wanted to say I'm very close to 3,000 subscribers on the channel, and I picked this up for myself to celebrate when the time comes for that little achievement for my card game channel that I started just for fun a few years ago. I picked up a heavy base set pack of Pokemon Jungle. So this weighs like 21.34 grams, which is very, very, very high chances of there actually being a holo in here. Those of you that watched me recently know that I got a little bit burned on opening packs that I did not weigh ahead of time for the fun of it. And this time I'm like, you know what? We're going to buy one that has a really, really good chance of there being a holo in here. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new, if you want to see me open this up in a video and see what we get. Maybe we get the Snorlax, maybe we get a Flareon, maybe we get, a Venomoth. I'd be happy with honestly any holo inside of here. And whatever I get from here, I will grade. Whether or not that's going to be with PSA through GameStop, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see me open this, and we'll see what we get. Thank you. All right, so I am back, and I got my PSA submission back from GameStop. Before I open it, how the experience went, dropping the cards off was pretty easy. It was pretty smooth. I pretty much let like 3 or 4 people go ahead of me that were hanging out in the GameStop because I knew the whole process would probably take at least 15 minutes, and I didn't want to hold them up because there was literally one person working in the store. But basically what they do is they just lay your cards out on their table, and I brought them in top loader, or not top loaders, but card savers and penny sleeves already. They take photos of them. I brought 16 cards. I actually brought 6 additional cards that I didn't show you guys at the start of this video. I snuck in some of my Topps cards that I've pulled fresh from packs myself on this channel, so stay tuned to see what ones I got graded. But they took pictures. They can do them in batches of 8, so pictures of 8 and 8, 16 cards total. Unfortunately, and this is just a warning to those of you that plan on grading with GameStop, make sure that you pay very close attention to the order in which they take the photos and then pack those cards away to send them, because there were a couple of cards that I wanted to be potentially sequential in case they both graded 10s, but they got shuffled out of order. So just keep that in mind. Picking up my cards was another bit of an ordeal. I went to a GameStop that apparently had just started accepting PSA submissions, and I think I may have been one of the first people ever to submit cards there, because when I went to go pick up my cards today, they actually just brought them out of the back, not in the box, not in the bag, nothing, just the loose stack of graded cards. And I'm like, do you guys have like a bag or a box or something? And they're like, oh no, sorry, I'd have to charge you $2 for like an oversized bag. And then I was like, well, every video I've seen online or pictures, like they usually always come in a PSA box like this. And he went in the back. He's like, you know what, hold on. He went in the back and grabbed it. I think they like threw the box away. I mean, definitely give the customer a box, right? Because we need this storage and protection for when we're going to drive home with it. So just another warning, if you grade GameStop, just make sure you have like a little backup bag or box in your car or something in case they can't supply one for you. They have you sign there for it. They actually weren't, this is interesting. Originally, he just asked for my phone number, and he was going to go in the back and just grab the cards. But because he saw me holding my ID in my hand, he's like, oh yeah, and I need to see your ID, because he saw me holding it. So this GameStop was about ready to go out and give me my graded cards with just a phone number, which is a little bit of a security risk. So I think in the future, I may bring my cards to a different GameStop. I'm not sure until this one gets a little bit of a better hang of like how to deal with bringing out graded cards and just like the security behind it. But anyway, what do you say we open this up here? This is my first time grading with PSA ever, not just with GameStop, but PSA for the first time ever. I want to make sure that I'm not spoiling any of the cards here, so let's do this. It took 53 days, by the way, from drop-off. I dropped off September 12th, and I picked up today, which is November 4th. So it took 53 days. That's not including like, that's with non-business days. So under 2 months to get my cards back, I was pretty happy with. Okay, so it looks like the front of the cards are here. So I'm just going to pull out a stack and try my best to keep it face down. So I did submit some Topps cards, like I said, that I didn't show you guys in the beginning. Most of which are foils, and some of which are potentially really big cards. So we're going to kind of slow roll this, since this is my first time grading with PSA and first time grading with GameStop, I'm going to take my sweet time. For those wondering, it's $20 per card to get it graded. So, a little bit of an expensive ordeal to grade with PSA, but all it takes is 1 or 2 cards to turn the entire submission around. My plans with this, most of them will stay in my personal collection. I may sell some of these on my eBay store, which I should be opening up soon, to kind of like offset costs of grading. But just remember, all these cards I pulled myself from packs. So let's see what the first one is here. First one is first edition Jungle Jigglypuff. Now this, like I said, came fresh from a pack that I opened on this channel not that long ago. So go check out my channel. I'll link the video is in the description of this if you want to check it out and watch me opening the packs. I didn't send all the cards that I opened from those packs, but in the future I might. So Jigglypuff in a PSA 10 is worth $200 to $250. In a 9, it's worth $30 to $65. So big drop off on these Jungle First Edition cards. They tend to be worth a couple $100 at minimum, usually for most of them. Usually the cheapest they'll be is like $1 to $150 for the less desirable ones, but some of them can be very pricey. But there's a huge drop off if you hit a 9 instead of a 10. Now, before I reveal these grades, I am very aware of PSA's grading standards. I'm very aware that it is hard to get a 10 in these vintage cards. So I am very much expecting 8s and 9s. Okay, I'm not going to be super disappointed if I see an 8 and 9. I would just be happy to see 1 10 from my Jungle First Edition cards. All right, so let's see what we got. First reveal is a 7. Oh man, that's not a good indicator for the rest of what's about to come. So this, I want to remind you, opened fresh from a pack on the channel. Of course, it's going to pick up my fingerprints. I think I got a really tough grader because, to me, yeah, there's a little itsy bitsy white dot in that top corner there and there, but unless there's like a dent or something I wasn't seeing in this card, boy, ooh, that's not a good start. So that makes me a little worried for the rest of these jungle cards. I was expecting like at minimum an 8. All right, next is the Tauros, Jungle First Edition, pulled from a pack. Tauros in a 10 is worth $200 to $300. In a 9, it's worth about $35. So let's take a look at the condition on this one. Once again, corners look pretty good to me. I didn't notice any dents or creases or nothing. Marks of any kind. What is that on the back of the card there? What the heck is that? Is that on the card or is that on the... You see this? Man, how could that be on my card if it was fresh from a pack? What is that? It's like dust in the slab. Or is that a mark? You see that? Oh boy. Did the Jigglypuff have that? Did not. That's not on the Jigglypuff. Wow. I would have surely seen that before submitting this card. I feel like a piece of dust got wedged in that slab, but all right, let's see. And now I'm like scared this is going to get like a 6 or a 7 or something. An 8. Okay. All right. Not sure what that is in the back of the card. An 8 is pretty much like raw price for these. You might get a little bit, like half the grading cost back for something like that. So that's pretty rough. That is pretty rough. Okay. Let's see what we got on the back of this one. There's already a scratch on my slab. Not happy with the quality control here. That's definitely not on the card. That's on the slab. Because I can see the shadow going underneath. Yeah, so much for the quality control department at PSA. There's a quality control check that apparently, they should have reslabbed it, but whatever. Could have also happened when these were shipping back to GameStop. All right, Firo in a PSA 10 is $200 to $250. In a 9, it's $30 to $35. A 6? What? Holy crap. A 6? That means like it's not even near mint. It's excellent to mint. What am I not seeing on here? What the hell? I'm trying to see if there's like problems with the corners down here. If you guys see anything, leave a comment below. Goodness gracious. Yeah, like I said, this is definitely not on the card. I can absolutely see that's a scratch on the slab. Okay, I'm seeing something on the left. There's something going on right here. Like a little itsy bitsy like edgeware. It's not even white. It's just like a little, like someone nubbed it with their finger or something. How does that warrant a 6? That is crazy. If that was, like I said, that could have happened in the pack after I opened it. This is once again another card I pulled right here on the channel. I'd have to like look back on the video and see if I notice these things as the card is getting open. That's pretty wild. Okay. The jungle cards are... I'm getting massacred on the jungle cards. Let's see what we get. All right, the Cubone. Cubone in a 10 is 400 to 500. This is a huge one potentially. A 9, 50 to 70, but I mean at this point, I'm pretty sure I know what to expect here. A 7. Near mint 7. Man, the grader I got for these, even these ones that don't have like glaring issues. Like the Furo I can see with that little dimple on the left, which personally I don't even think deserves a 6. That's crazy. Card was definitely mint other than that. I'm trying to see if this one has a similar issue. Because if they all came from the same pack, which these did, perhaps they would all have that problem. Trying to see if I'm catching something in the light here. Once again, if you see something, you let me know. I'm not seeing the same issue with this one. Honestly, I have no idea what they were seeing. I'm trying to catch the reflection, so you guys can point it out in the comments if you see something abnormal. Like itziest tiny white dot there on the edge corner. Some of which can be from printing errors. Yeah, I'm not seeing that same problem on this one. I'm like almost tempted to see if I'm able to crack these out and send them to CGC and see what CGC gives it. As a little experiment. I've never cracked cards out of a PSA slab before, but the ones that look good, it's tempting. Like I'm looking down here, I'm trying to see. I'm not seeing anything on Cubone. Comment below if you see something. All right. On with the massacre. All right. Persian. Persian in a 10 is like such a weird and wild card. It's at minimum $500 in a 10. Bidding, the last one went for $1,600. So I'm pretty sure this is not a 10 because I would have got upcharged for it. Take a look at the back. Ignore the fingerprints on the slab. I am not seeing any of those weird issues that I saw in the Furo. Okay, nothing on the back. I mean, it looks really good on the back. Front also looks good. All right, here comes the 7 and 8. Near mint to mint. Yeah, I think I just got a really, really harsh grader because the centering looks good. Centering looks good to me. Nothing crazy. I mean, there's, I guess, just like this tiniest white dot that's up here, but even that should qualify for a 9. All right. On to what, now, like I said, the sequencing got thrown out of whack here because I did submit a Meowth. All right, Pidgeot. Pidgeot in a 10 is 160 to 300, and in a 9, it's a $50 to a $60 card for the rare. This is the rare that I got out of my Jungle First Edition pack that I opened on the channel. This one, definitely probably not getting a 9 with this grader standards. Once again, another scratch on the slab right up there. Nice quality control PSA. Tiny corner white dot there, and tiny white dot there. You know, I'm aware of these things before I sent them, but I still figured that even with that tiniest white dot, you can still get a 9. I would have been fine with a 9, just to kind of like encapsulate the first edition jungle pack that I opened here on the channel. All right, I'm going to say because of those white dots, this is getting like a 6 or a 7. You got an 8, okay. Maybe they'll throw me a bone. Maybe I'll be able to get at least a 9. Tell you though, that this is probably the last batch that I'm submitting to a PSA for vintage WotC jungle cards, at least from that pack. Or maybe I'll get a different grader. Okay. Next up is Rhydon, also from the same pack. Whitening along the edges there, but it's like, it's that fresh from a pack whitening. But this one probably does have it a little bit worse than others. So yeah, I'm expecting this to get a 6 or a 7 based on this grader's standards. Yep, 6. They really, I mean, the front is really nice. Centering is fine to me from the naked eye here. They really did not like the slight edge wear on those corners, which once again was right from a pack. Man, PSA is brutal on vintage WotC cards. Where's it to the coast? All right, this should be a Meowth, I believe. Yeah, the sequence got thrown off. Like I said, when they packed these up at GameStop. Meowth in a 10 is 140 to 200, and a 9 is 30 to 35. Fully expecting to get slaughtered on Meowth. A 9. All right, thanks. Thanks, PSA. So $30 to $35, the only 9 they gave me. So apparently, even though these were all from the same pack, one of them had PSA 9 potential, and some of them were 6s, 7s, and 8s. That is really fascinating. Really fascinating. All right, let's move on to a hopefully less brutal part of the reveals. Though I'm not hopeful with this grader that they gave me. We got the Topps cards that I submitted. So I just randomly pulled out some pre-screened. I looked these over already in the past from my Topps collection. All of these were opened fresh on my channel from packs on streams or videos. So these are all packed fresh, and I have seen other people that have done the same, opening Topps packs, submitting straight to PSA, getting absolutely slaughtered on these 6s and 7s and stuff. So, I'll be happy with at least a 9, but I'm kind of hoping for 110 on these, hopefully. There are other WotC cards in here, by the way. A couple holos, so stay tuned for those. Like I said, the order got a little messed up here. All right, so Jigglypuff. Let's see. Jigglypuff in a holo, PSA 10 is $130. In a 9, it's $30. So you definitely take a big hit on these unless you're pulling the 10. Topps cards are notoriously hard to grade because of the sharp corners and many things that can go wrong with the foil. Oh, we got the 10. All right, that helps turn it around a little bit. Yeah, I looked these over very closely when I first sleeved these up. I was originally going to send them to CGC, but I figured I would test PSA's ability to grade my Topps cards. And yeah, it's nice. So that's $130. The last one that sold went bidding $130. So you figure probably in the $150 range, maybe a little bit more if you're doing buy it now. So that's a nice one. All right. Next up is War Turtle, and this is with the non-sunray foil pattern. So I think this is like print 2, if I remember right, with that kind of holo foil. A little bit harder to find than the sunray foil pattern. Because of this pattern, it makes it really hard to grade. These things tend to like snag very easily and kind of scratch. Check the back on this real quick. Corners and everything always looked good to me. I would never submit these if it had visible corner dents or anything like that. So War Turtle in a holo is $80 to $100, and PSA 9 is $30. Got the 8. All right, so that's pretty much like the cost of grading, essentially, for an 8. Next up is Charmander, and we got the Sunray foil. Charmander in a 10 is $200, in a 9 is $50 to $60. Looks awesome in a foil. Look at that. Got an 8 on the Charmander. All right. They threw me a bone with the Jigglypuff. I mean, I could probably see why this got the 8, because this top left corner here is like the ever so slightest little dimple up there. Like I said, they are really brutal on Topps cards, really brutal. All of these pulled pack fresh on my channel from packs that were not stuck together. The cards were just like slid right out because I opened the Topps tins. All right, Vulpix. Not noticing that same corner issue on the Charmander. Vulpix in a 10 is $80 to $100, or $50 in a 9. Pulled an 8. All right, same with the Charmander. Sequential 8s, though, on the 2 fire Pokemon. All right, now we are, for a moment, heading back to non-Topps cards. There are a couple more Topps cards after this. Now, these ones here. This one I got from... Oh, that is a... Come on, PSA. What's going on here? Look at it. Look at this scratch. I don't think this was GameStop either. I mean, that's pretty... There's a giant scratch going across the front of my slab right there. I don't know if the light can catch it. But right here. Big hairline scratch across the front of the slab. I really hate scratches on slabs. Got to get like some solution to buff that out or something. That bothers me a lot, especially fresh from getting graded. So this I got from a local card shop. And I thought it looked pretty nice condition. Unfortunately, my card shop doesn't like allow you to take the cards out and look at them in the top loaders because they keep a sticker on the top loader where you can't like pull it out. Otherwise, I would have noticed that it had a hairline scratch on the front hollow here. But other than that, other than some very light silvering around the edges, the back looked pretty good. Nothing crazy wrong with the back. Not a ton of whitening. Like for a used, there's another scratch on this. Jeez. And like I said, I don't think that was GameStop. Anyway, quality control, not the greatest with submitting through GameStop, apparently. And I don't think it's the GameStop employees. So, but based on what I've seen with my jungle cards, boy, this is going to be bad. So I think I mentioned at the start of the video I'd be happy with a 7 or an 8. I think a 7, let's see, did I put the price down for this? Light Arcanine in a 7 is worth about 180 to 200. In an 8, it's 280, and a 9 is 300 to 400. I didn't even write the 10 price because there's no way this is getting the 10. So I paid 150 for this card, so even if it got a 7, it's worth a bit more than what I paid for it. It's got a nice little swirl there. I just noticed that I didn't notice before, right behind one of his feet. Beautiful card. Let's see what we got. Pulled the 7, which I'm happy with. Near mint. Yeah, I could tell this was near mint in person. So 7, a little bit of a bump. This is staying in my personal collection. It's a beautiful card. All right, here is, I'm going to show you this because I'm going to leave this until the end. Got to give you guys something to wait for, anticipation. My Shadowless Venusaur. So we're going to do that one last. Going to keep him right there. We'll come to him. And then in the meantime, we've got a Topps Chrome Series 2 Gengar. This is a big one. But considering I wasn't upcharged, I don't think this is getting a 10. So a Shadowless, a Series 2 Gengar is $80 and $50 in an 8, $60 in a 9, or $370 to $500 in a 10. So I'll pull this pack fresh on the channel. Kind of just taking a quick look here. Hopefully they were kind to me, especially because this is the only non-foil card that I submitted. Maybe I can pull the 10. Got the 9. Darn. Well, a 9 is still pretty nice on Gengar. I saw it on eBay going for between like 60 and 80, so not the end of the world for that, but the 10 obviously would have been nice. And then lastly here for the Topps cards before we do the Venusaur, we have a holo Arcanine Topps card. I'm already seeing like, no, that's part of the holofoil pattern. It looks pretty good to me, but you know, I'm expecting the 8 here. Here we go. The 8, yep. So got absolutely massacred on everything but the Jigglypuff. And the Gengar. I guess the Gengar was decent in a 9. Alright, so here is my Venusaur, which if you watched one of my recent videos where I bought a lot of cards on eBay, the seller didn't really know what they had, and I got a few Shadowless Holos in that lot. And I just wanted to submit this. Was it grade worthy? It's not the most grade worthy Venusaur out there, but there's not a lot of scratching on the holofoil. There's just a little bit of silvering on the edges. Just a little bit of silver that like might pop through. I think it was like right around here. Nothing crazy. Like it's a pretty clean looking front. It just looks really good. And then the back, you know, had your typical slightly whitened edges, corners, like nothing crazy. I mean, no abnormal scratching. So I would honestly be happy with any grade on this just to have it graded and verified and everything. So I put down prices as low as a PSA 4. PSA 4 price is 150 to 185. PSA 5 is 200 to 280. PSA 6 is 250 to 300. And a PSA 7 is 380. I don't think this has a shot at an 8. My guess on the grade on this, based on this grader, is probably going to be a PSA 5. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 4. So here we go. The big boy. 5. Yep. Got the guess right. So it's an excellent condition Venusaur. I'm pretty happy with that. I didn't expect anything crazy on it. For an eBay lot that I picked up that I wasn't even expecting to get anything crazy, being able to pull an excellent condition Shadowless Holo Venusaur. Shadowless, for those of you that are unaware, means the shadow. Normally there's a drop shadow box, like you see how the jungle cards here have that drop shadow. Base set does not have the drop shadow here, which distinguishes it as a print run that was between the first edition. So it's basically a first edition card with the stamp removed. It's the print run that happened between first edition and then the unlimited print run, unlimited being the one with the drop shadow. So it's sort of like a slightly more uncommon printing of the original base set cards from the unlimited set. So there you have it, guys. Pretty brutal submission, I gotta say. The only 10 that I pulled was Jigglypuff. I'm honestly not sure if I'll continue to do Topps cards or even vintage pack fresh cards through PSA. I think I'm gonna keep. I'll have to renew my subscription, but I think I'm gonna keep submitting to CGC because the last time I submitted my Topps cards to CGC, a lot of these cards were from the same packs, the same ones here, right? These ones, all these here. These were all from the same packs. When I submitted these cards to CGC, a ton of them pulled 10s, Gem Mint 10s. There were a couple 9s here and there, but I did really well submitting the CGC with my Topps holos and non-holos. Lots of Gem Mint 10s. Only 1 or 2 pristines, but they were a lot more fair with my Topps cards. PSA, yeah, that was pretty brutal. My opinion on the jungle cards, like I've heard stories about how PSA is just like absolutely crazy when it comes to grading vintage, and yeah, I can see it. So 1-9, a 6, an 8, an 8, a 7. Put this here. 7, a 6. The only one that I can see being the 6 is the Furo did have something going on like on the edge, and then I think it was the Tauros, right, that has this weird dust thing underneath the slab there. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming that probably affected the grade. I don't know, or it slipped in there. So an 8, and then the Jigglypuff got a 7. So yeah, pretty brutalized on the jungle cards. Overall, am I happy with the submission? Not really. No, I felt like my jungle cards were a bit unfairly graded. Pack fresh PSA. I mean, I'm looking at this Rhydon, and man, I'm telling you, PSA 6. Oh wait, what's going on there? Is that a dent on the corner? Or is that the slab? You guys see that? It could be like a weird thing going on with the plastic, or it could be a dent. Oh wait, hold on. I'm seeing something going on here. Okay, I definitely see why they give it a 6 now. But man, I don't know how I missed this originally. I'm usually pretty good pre-grading. It is possible though, because I didn't look these over as long as I normally do. Because I'm like, oh, they were pack fresh, right? Like, how could there be any dents in these cards? But I'm seeing, unless I submitted the wrong Rhydon, because I did have another Rhydon. No, this should have been the right one. But yeah, you can see right here, there is a dent right there, a little dimple. So I can see why that got a 6. I see why the Furo got a 6 because of this right here. Do I think it's worth a 6 though? Like, I think it should have been at least a 7 in that case. A 7. 6 is a little brutal, but I guess they. Well, actually, I could see the 6 for the Rhydon with the dimples, but some of these other ones that got 8s, I don't know, boy. They deserved at least a 9 in my opinion. Anyway, I don't want this video to go on too long, but hope you guys enjoyed the process of my first GameStop PSA submission. If I do another one, it's gonna be. I think I might do my other shadowless holos potentially, like the other few that I have. But man, this that hurt. It definitely makes me consider CGC again, or at least cracking some of these out and send it. But then, I mean, that's when it starts getting crazy, right? Like you're essentially surrendering the grading cost to submit again, pay the grading cost again, and then just gamble that it gets a 10. So I'm not sure if that's going to be worth it. But anyway, having these graded, knowing I pulled them myself, is more than worth it, I guess, for now. But it's going to make me think a little bit more in the future about who I'm submitting to and what I'm grading and choosing to get graded. And this is why I much prefer to just buy my graded cards on eBay. Let other people go through the heartbreak of getting back 6s and 7s and 8s, and then just buy people's 9s and 10s instead. It's a lot easier that way, for vintage especially. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.